clashed with counter-protesters in Charlottesville, Virginia. Heather Heyer was among those demonstrating against the white nationalists who were rallying in support of Confederate monuments. The 32-year-old was run down by a man who drove his car into the crowd. President Trump said shortly after her death that both sides were to blame for the violence, something that upset Heyer's mother, who I spoke to shortly after her daughter's death.
Heather knew she might die.
Why did she think she might die at a rally like this, Susan?
Because we knew these people were violent. They'd been here before.
So she knew that her life was at risk, and she went
did.
Anyway?
She did.
Why would she go anyway?
Because that's who she was.
I'm joined now by Susan Bro, mother of Heather Heyer. Susan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You've said that you've had to intern Heather's ashes in a safe place, in an unmarked and undisclosed location. Why is that?
I mean, part of me feels like maybe I'm being a little paranoid about it. But then I talk to people over the weekend, or I talk to other people whose families have been attacked because they were at the rally, journalists whose families have been attacked. And so I just thought, I'm going to continue to keep this a secret. There's no point in taking a chance. This was, you know, this is my child. This is my daughter. And I choose to keep that private.
Are you still getting threats?
We get hate mail occasionally through the email at the office. It's kind of died down. I figure it'll go in cycles. The more I talk, the more they'll talk.
What sort of things do they say?
She shouldn't have been there in the first place. Why didn't you stop her from going? More N should have been killed. She was an N lover, and that's why she was there. Glad she died. She was a fat slob. I said, yes, my daughter was overweight. That still doesn't excuse somebody driving into a crowd and killing her.
You know, it's been a couple months since this happened, and you've gotten some distance from it, and you've told other outlets, including the Daily Beast, that you think the president is responsible. Why is that?
I don't think he's responsible entirely by any means, but he is certainly a symptom of the divisiveness in the country. And he doesn't do anything to try to heal that gap. He encourages the divisiveness.
In the beginning, you were hesitant to say that. What's behind this change of heart?
I still want to protect my family. And he's still the president, so I'm still trying not to be too aggressive in my opinions, shall we say. But there seems to be an unrelenting pattern of divisiveness encouraged. It doesn't seem to let up. I thought maybe it would let up after the election, but it still seems to be ongoing.
What do you think he can do to make it better?
I don't know what he can do. I think that he is who he is, and he's not likely to change. I think we have to make changes ourselves on a personal level, one-on-one, a groundswell of people talking to one another. People will often ask me, well, what is it that you think you're trying to accomplish? And I said, I'm making ripples, and I'm encouraging other people to make ripples. And if you get enough ripples together, you get a wave, and if you get enough waves together, you get a tsunami. And that's what we need, is a tsunami of change. But it's got to come from within people. It can't be legislated down. It's got to come from within the heart.
Do you think if you spoke to him, the president, and you said you don't want to talk to him, but do you think if you had a chance to speak with him, that you could convey your pain, that you could convey your concern about the divide in this country and what he's doing, your opinion, to only make things worse?
From what I've seen of him interacting with people, he doesn't care what I think, nor other people think. He has his opinions, and he's going to give his opinions. So I'm not wasting my breath and not wasting his time either.
You talk about ripples, and at Heather's memorial service, you said that the people that were protesting tried to kill my child to shut her up, and you want her legacy to be magnified. So when you talk about these ripples and trying to change people and trying to affect them, what do you think is the best way to do that? Because I hear this all the time from folks out there in the country that everyone's so angry and we're so hopelessly divided. And what is the solution, in your opinion, Susan?
Well, I don't think it's hopeless. I think that we have to be willing to have what I call difficult conversations, and I've talked about this a number of times before, and I see a lot of other people talking about them and having them as well. And that is being willing to find connections of some sort between yourself and another person, and just open yourself up to the option of listening to them. You may not agree with them. You may not like them any better when you finish, but at least you tried. And more often than not, people come away with a better understanding of one another. And once you understand another person, and you feel that they have listened to you, then you're more willing to find a way to make things work. Some things can't be compromised. We cannot compromise with white supremacy or Nazism. We simply cannot. But we can find ways to get along and have better civil justice, social justice for all people.
Susan Bro, thank you for joining us. And let me just say on behalf of everybody here, your daughter was brave.